A mansion is burning. Twins trapped inside. Their billionaire mom unaware. Jack runs into the flames, risking it all for two kids he doesn't know. But what happens next will change their lives forever. The alarm clock blared through Jack Mitchell's cramped apartment, piercing the stillness at 5:00. The shrill sound was a harsh reminder of the long day ahead. With a soft groan, Jack reached over and silenced it before it could wake Noah, his 8-year-old son, sleeping soundly in the next room. In the dim glow of dawn, the phone screen flashed 5:00 coldly, as if daring him to crawl out of his creaky old bed. Jack sat up, rubbing his face, trying to shake off the fatigue clinging to him after a restless night. At 34, he looked older than his years, not because of age, but because of life's burdens. The lines around his eyes had deepened, etched by years of single parenthood, mounting bills, and the grief of losing his beloved wife, Sarah, to cancer 3 years ago. The disease hadn't just taken Sarah, it left behind a mountain of medical debt, plunging Jack into a relentless financial struggle. He stood, moving quietly across the worn wooden floor that squeaked underfoot, careful not to disturb Noah. The 2-bedroom apartment on the outskirts of Portland was far from fancy, a threadbare sofa, a scratched-up kitchen table, and Noah's colorful drawings plastered across the walls like bright patches in Jack's otherwise muted life. He flicked on the coffee maker, its low hum breaking the silence. While waiting, Jack pulled out his work uniform, a blue coverall emblazoned with Mitchell Plumbing Services, the small plumbing business he'd inherited from his father. But in an economy dominated by big corporations, the business barely kept him and Noah afloat. Jack sat at the kitchen table, facing a stack of bills, an overdue electric bill, rent due in days, and a letter from Noah's school about a science field trip costing $50 that his son was dying to join. "We'll figure it out," Jack whispered to himself, a mantra he'd repeated daily since Sarah's passing. "We always do." In the faint light, Jack's eyes landed on a photo taped to the fridge Sarah and Noah, both beaming during a beach trip years ago. Sarah's long black hair fluttered in the wind, her eyes sparkling, while Noah, then just 5, held a seashell like it was treasure. Jack smiled wistfully. "You'd be so proud of him, Sarah," he murmured, as if she could still hear him somewhere. The coffee was ready. Jack poured a mug, the warmth soothing his rough hands. He took a sip, the familiar bitterness jolting him awake. Today was packed. A client in a wealthy neighborhood needed a pipe fixed. Then a few more calls across town. If luck was on his side, he'd scrape together enough to cover the electric bill and maybe save a bit for Noah's field trip. By 5:30, Jack was in his old Ford truck, the engine grumbling as he turned the key. The dashboard was littered with work orders and a photo of Noah taped near the air vent, his son's smile fueling Jack's daily grind. He switched on the radio, a local station crackling to life with news about a charity gala that evening at the Harper estate, hosted by the famously private billionaire Claire Harper. Jack listened absently, barely registering the details. The Harpers, with their wealth and influence, existed in a world so far removed from his. They might as well have been characters in Noah's bedtime stories. "Must be nice," Jack muttered, making a right turn toward Mrs. Thompson's house, where a leaky pipe awaited. The streets were still dark, lit only by a few flickering streetlights in the early morning fog. Portland, with its quiet roads and salty sea air, had been Jack's home for all 34 years of his life. But today, he felt an odd unease, as if fate was gearing up for something big. Meanwhile, across town in the upscale Crescent Hill neighborhood, Claire Harper was already awake in her spacious home office. Claire was striking tall, with a graceful figure, pale skin, and sharp green eyes that could unsettle any business rival. She stood before a floor-to-ceiling window, gazing out at the meticulously manicured gardens of the Harper estate, a family legacy spanning generations. A steaming coffee mug warmed her hands, but her mind was elsewhere. Claire was the CEO of Harper Technologies, a leading force in renewable energy that had reshaped how the world viewed sustainability. Under her leadership, Harper Technologies wasn't just a billion-dollar empire, it was a symbol of innovation and social responsibility. But behind her confident, successful facade, Claire carried a heart full of scars. Her marriage to Daniel Reed, an ambitious lawyer, had crumbled 5 years ago. Shortly after their twins, Ava and Liam, were born. Daniel couldn't handle the pressure of being married to one of America's most powerful women. The public divorce, with Daniel relinquishing parental rights for a hefty settlement, had shattered Claire's faith in love. She sipped her coffee, her gaze drifting across the garden to where Ava and Liam's swing set stood quietly in the dawn light. The twins, now 5, were her entire world. Ava, serious and thoughtful with her mother's eyes, had undergone heart surgery as a newborn. Liam, mischievous and bursting with energy, always made Claire laugh, thanks to top-tier medical care. Ava was thriving now, but the memory of those days when her daughter lay in intensive care still haunted Claire. It was why she poured her heart into the Harper Foundation, hosting tonight's gala to raise funds for children's hospitals. Missy Harper. Her assistant, Diane's voice came through the intercom. The event planners need your final approval on the seating arrangements for tonight. Claire sighed. The charity gala was her mother, Catherine Harper's legacy, a tradition Claire upheld even after Catherine's passing 2 years ago. Though she disliked the glitz, Claire carried on because it made a difference for countless families. I'll be down in a minute. Diane, she replied, taking one last look at the garden. Ava and Liam would wake soon, eager to share their dreams or silly plans with their nanny, Mrs. Lawson. As Claire descended the polished oak staircase, her thoughts wandered to the gala. Another evening of forced smiles, matchmaking attempts from Portland's elite, and the pressure to maintain the perfect Harper image. Truth be told, Claire wasn't searching for love anymore. She'd tried, failed, and now focused solely on her kids and her company. Yet deep down, a quiet loneliness lingered, like a cold breeze through the vast estate. Back with Jack. His morning unfolded in the familiar rhythm of work. At Mrs. Thompson's house, he quickly fixed the leaky pipe, earning praise and a glass of iced tea from the elderly woman. You're a lifesaver, Jack, she said, handing him a cash envelope. Without you, my kitchen would be a swimming pool. Jack smiled, tucking the envelope into his pocket. Just doing my job. Ma'am, call me if anything else comes up. His next job took him to a downtown shop, where an aging plumbing system needed replacing. He worked steadily, sweat soaking through his shirt, but his mind stayed on Noah. His son was his light. With Sarah's smile and an endless curiosity about the world, Noah loved science, especially the ocean, and the field trip to the Science Museum was all he talked about. Jack knew he had to find that $50, even if his wallet was running on fumes. By noon, Jack got a text from a client, Mrs. Chen, canceling her afternoon appointment. Normally, he'd be frustrated by the lost income, but today it meant he could pick Noah up from school instead of leaving him in aftercare. The thought lifted his spirits. He drove to Portland Elementary, parking along the curb to wait. When the school bell rang, Noah burst out, his brown hair a mess, his eyes lighting up when he spotted his dad. Dad, you're really here, he shouted, throwing his arms around Jack. Got lucky with my schedule. Buddy, Jack grinned, ruffling Noah's hair. How was school? Noah launched into a story about his science class, how whales communicate with sound waves, and how his friend Tyler swore the new ice cream shop on Maple Street had bubblegum flavor. Jack listened, nodding occasionally, but his mind drifted to the bills at home. Tonight, he had a shift at Reynolds Hardware from 6 p.m. to midnight. Mrs. Petrillo, their kind neighbor, would watch Noah, but Jack hated missing bedtime stories. "Dad, are you listening?" Noah interrupted, frowning. "Sorry, kiddo. What did you say?" "I said, can we get ice cream? Tyler says the bubblegum flavor's awesome." Jack glanced at the gas gauge hovering near empty and thought about the $50 field trip fee. But Noah's hopeful eyes were impossible to resist. "All right," he said, turning toward Maple Street. "One scoop won't break the bank, right?" Noah cheered, fist pumping the air. Jack laughed, a rare moment of lightness amid his worries. At the Harper estate, the day grew hectic as gala preparations ramped up. Claire was pulled into meetings, reviewing floral arrangements, menus, and a guest list of 200 of New England's wealthiest and most influential. During a rare break, she slipped into the twins' playroom, where Ava and Liam were building a blanket fort under Mrs. Lawson's watchful eye. "Mom," they cried in unison, rushing into her arms. Claire knelt, hugging them tightly, feeling their warmth and Ava's steady heartbeat, a miracle she'd prayed for every night. "How are my little architects doing?" she asked, admiring their forts. "We're building a castle," Ava said solemnly, "for princesses and dragons." "No princesses," Liam protested. "Astronauts and aliens." Claire laughed. "Why not an astronaut princess who tames dragons? Sounds pretty cool to me." They nodded eagerly, pulling her into their game. For 20 precious minutes, Claire forgot her pressures, crawling through blanket tunnels and defending the fort from imaginary invaders. Her designer suit collected dust, but she didn't care. These moments with Ava and Liam were what she cherished most. "Madison." "Harper." Diane appeared at the door, apologetic. "The caterers need your final menu approval, and security wants to review tonight's protocols." Claire nodded, duty calling her back. She kissed the twins goodbye, promising to check in before the gala. As she walked away, she heard Liam ask Mrs. Lawson if they could roast marshmallows in their fort. "No fire in the house." "Dear Mrs. Lawson replied firmly, "but we can pretend." Jack dropped Noah off at Mrs. Petrillo's apartment at 5:30 p.m., swapping his coveralls for the red vest of Reynolds Hardware. Mrs. Petrillo, an elderly woman with a warm smile, greeted Noah with a plate of cookies. "Don't worry about rushing back, Jack," she said. "Noah and I have a puzzle date tonight." "Thanks, Mrs. P," Jack said, kneeling to hug Noah. "Be good." "Okay, I'll pick you up right after my shift." As Jack drove to the store, the sky darkened with storm clouds. The forecast warned of heavy rain, and Portland's weather was notoriously unpredictable this time of year. He took a shortcut through back roads, hoping to beat the traffic as people hurried home before the storm. Rain began to fall, fat drops smacking the windshield. Jack turned onto an unfamiliar road, forced by construction blocking his usual route. The houses around him grew larger, spaced farther apart. He realized he'd wandered into Crescent Hill, the city's most exclusive neighborhood. He was about to turn around when a flash of light from a nearby mansion caught his eye. At first, he thought it was lightning, but it flickered again, a distinct orange glow behind a ground floor window. "Fire." Jack pulled over, grabbing his phone to call 911 as he jogged toward the estate. The operator assured him fire crews were on the way. But as Jack neared the wrought iron gates, he saw flames clearly visible through multiple windows. The storm intensified, rain pouring in sheets. But it did nothing to slow the fire's spread. The gates were open, likely for gala guests. Jack ran up the long driveway, spotting the main entrance bustling with staff running back and forth, some carrying valuables. But the fire was concentrated in a separate east wing. Jack intercepted a frantic-looking woman in a staff uniform. "I've called 911, he said. "Is everyone out safe?" Her eyes widened in horror. "The children, Mrs." Lawson took them to the east wing after lunch. They were playing in the playroom. "I don't think anyone's checked there." Jack's heart sank. "Where's the east wing?" She pointed toward the blazing section. "There. But you can't." Jack was already running. Years as a plumber had given him a knack for building layouts. He circled around, searching for a safer entry. A side door looked less engulfed, and Jack pulled his soaked shirt over his nose and mouth before pushing inside. Smoke filled the hallway, thick but not yet unbearable. He dropped low, calling out, "Anyone here? Kids?" Through the crackling flames, he heard a small voice. Following the sound, the heat grew with each step. At the end of a corridor, a door stood ajar, smoke billowing out. Jack pushed through, finding a lavish playroom, one corner consumed by fire. A blanket fort had caught flame, likely from an outlet or spark. Huddled behind an overturned table in the far corner were two children, a boy and a girl, identical except for their hair color, their faces streaked with tears and soot. "Hey there," Jack said, keeping his voice calm as he approached slowly. "I'm here to help. You guys okay?" The girl nodded, clutching her brother's hand. "We were playing, and the fort started burning," she said, her voice steady despite her tears. "Mrs." Lawson went for help. The boy coughed, adding, "But she didn't come back." Jack looked around, seeing no sign of an adult. The smoke thickened, flames reaching the ceiling. They had to move now. "I'm gonna get you both out," he promised, kneeling. "What are your names?" "I'm Ava," the girl said. "This is Liam. We're twins." "Nice to meet you." "Ava and Liam. I'm Jack. We need to stay low because of the smoke. Hold tight to me." "Okay." Jack shrugged off his outer shirt, tearing it in half to make makeshift masks. He helped the kids tie the damp fabric over their noses and mouths, then pulled them close. "Ava, hold my shoulders like a piggyback ride. Liam, I'll carry you. Keep your eyes closed as much as you can." "All right." The kids nodded, their bravery striking Jack. He hoisted Ava onto his back, her small arms tight around his neck, and lifted Liam. The path he'd taken was now blocked by flames, forcing him to find another route. Staying low, he moved toward a connecting door, hoping it led elsewhere in the mansion. "Where does this door go?" Jack asked. "To the big hallway," Liam mumbled through his mask. "Where the paintings are." Jack pushed through, entering a grand corridor lined with family portraits. The smoke was thinner here, but he could hear the fire roaring behind the walls. The mansion's fire suppression system seemed to have failed, possibly due to the storm. Guided by instinct and the twins' occasional directions, Jack navigated the labyrinthine estate, backtracking whenever flames or dense smoke blocked their path. Finally, he spotted a glass door leading to a garden. He rushed toward it, his lungs burning despite the shirt's protection. The door was locked, a safety feature, he guessed. With no time to find a key, Jack set Liam down. "Stand back. Kids," he warned, grabbing a bronze statuette from a nearby pedestal and smashing it against the glass. The reinforced glass cracked but held. He struck harder, and it shattered, creating an opening. Jack brushed away sharp shards, then picked Liam up and guided Ava through. The rain was still torrential, but the fresh air was a godsend. They ran across the garden, putting distance between them and the burning mansion. At a stone gazebo, Jack stopped, setting the kids down under its shelter. He checked them for injuries or severe smoke inhalation. "You both okay? Anything hurt?" Ava shook her head. "I'm okay. Thank you, Mr. Jack, for saving us." Liam nodded. "Our mom's gonna be really happy you helped." Suddenly, shouts cut through the rain. A woman ran toward them, dropping to her knees to engulf Ava and Liam in a fierce hug. She was drenched, her evening gown torn, but the relief in her eyes was overwhelming. "We're okay, Mommy," Ava said. "Mr. Jack saved us." The woman looked up at Jack, her green eyes meeting his. "You saved my children," she said, her voice breaking. "I don't know how to thank you." Before Jack could respond, paramedics arrived, ushering them toward ambulances. As he was led away for treatment, Jack glanced back, catching the woman's gaze, her face a mix of gratitude and something deeper, unreadable. The rain was still hammering down as Jack sat on the edge of an ambulance's open back door, a scratchy wool blanket draped over his shoulders. The flashing lights of fire trucks and police cars painted the Harper estate in chaotic reds and blues, cutting through the stormy darkness. Paramedics bustled around, checking on the twins, Ava and Liam, who were bundled in blankets in a nearby ambulance. Their mother, the woman with the piercing green eyes, hovered over them, her soaked evening gown clinging to her as she whispered reassurances. Jack caught snippets of her voice, calm but trembling with relief as she stroked their hair. A paramedic, a young guy named Ethan with a clipboard, knelt in front of Jack. "You're lucky, man," Ethan said, shining a penlight into Jack's eyes. "No serious burns, but you inhaled some smoke. We're going to give you oxygen for a bit and check your lungs. Any pain?" Chest tightness. Jack shook his head, though his throat felt raw, like he'd swallowed sandpaper. "I'm fine," he rasped. "Just make sure those kids are okay. They're tough little ones," Ethan said, fitting an oxygen mask over Jack's face. "Thanks to you, they're safe. You did something incredible back there." Jack shrugged, uncomfortable with the praise. He wasn't a hero, just a dad who couldn't stand the thought of kids in danger. His mind was already racing elsewhere. Noah. It was past 9 p.m. and he was supposed to be at Reynolds Hardware for his shift. Mrs. Petrillo was probably wondering where he was. He patted his pocket, realizing his phone was still in his truck, likely soaked but hopefully working. As Ethan adjusted the oxygen flow, Jack's gaze drifted to the burning mansion. Firefighters were battling the blaze, their hoses spraying arcs of water that glistened in the emergency lights. The East Wing, where he'd found the twins, was a skeleton of charred beams. But the main house seemed mostly intact. He wondered what had caused the fire a faulty outlet. Maybe, or something the kids had accidentally sparked in their blanket forts. Whatever it was, he was just glad Ava and Liam were safe. Mr. Mitchell, a police officer, a middle-aged woman with a no-nonsense ponytail, approached, notepad in hand. "I'm Officer Delaney. I need a quick statement about what happened." "You're not in any trouble, just want to piece things together." Jack nodded. Lifting the oxygen mask slightly, his voice came out hoarse. "I was driving through Crescent Hill, saw the fire, called 911. A staff member said kids were in the East Wing, so I went in, found 2 kids, Ava and Liam, in a playroom, got them out through a glass door to the garden." Delaney scribbled notes, her expression softening. "That was brave, Mr. Mitchell. Damn brave." The kid's nanny, Mrs. Lawson, got trapped in a stairwell trying to get help. She's shaken, but okay. You got to those kids just in time." Jack's stomach twisted at the thought of how close it had been. "Good to know," he said quietly. "Can I go soon?" "I need to get to my son." "We'll wrap this up quick," Delaney promised. "The family's going to want to thank you." "I'm sure." Jack waved it off. "No need. Just doing what anyone would." Delaney raised an eyebrow but didn't argue. As she walked away, Jack leaned back, letting the oxygen ease the burn in his chest. His clothes were soaked, his hands smudged with soot, and his boots were caked in mud from the garden. He probably looked like he'd been through a war zone. All he wanted was to pick up Noah, crawl into bed, and forget this night ever happened. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. Across the estate, Claire Harper sat in the ambulance with Ava and Liam, her arms wrapped around them like a lifeline. The twins were wrapped in blankets, their faces cleaned of soot but still pale. A paramedic had checked their vitals. Both had mild smoke inhalation, but no serious injuries. A miracle. Claire couldn't stop thanking the universe for... Ava was quiet, clutching a stuffed bunny the paramedics had given her, while Liam was already recounting the rescue to anyone who'd listen, his voice muffled by an oxygen mask. And then Mr. Jack broke the glass. "Like bam," Liam said, mimicking the motion with his small fist. "He carried us through the rain, and we hid in the gazebo." Claire managed a weak smile, brushing a lock of hair from Liam's forehead. "You were so brave, sweetheart," she said. "Both of you." Ava looked up, her green eyes so like Claire's serious. "Mr. Jack saved us." "Mommy." He wasn't scared at all. Claire's throat tightened. She glanced out the ambulance's open door, catching sight of the man who'd risked everything for her children. He was sitting in another ambulance, oxygen mask on, talking to a paramedic. His dark hair was plastered to his forehead, and his workman's coveralls were streaked with ash. He looked exhausted but steady, like someone who carried the weight of the world without complaint. "Who is he?" Claire asked softly, almost to herself. Diane, her assistant, appeared at the ambulance door, clutching a raincoat over her head. "His name's Jack Mitchell," she said, handing Claire a tablet with preliminary notes from the staff. "Local plumber. Lives in South Portland. Single dad. One son. That's all we've got so far. The police say he was driving by, saw the fire, and just went in." Claire's eyes widened. "He wasn't even supposed to be here." "Nope," Diane said. "Right place, right time. Or maybe divine intervention. Who knows?" Claire looked back at Jack, her heart swelling with gratitude and something else, curiosity. Maybe, or admiration. In her world of calculated risks and corporate games, selflessness like his was rare. She'd met countless people who'd do anything for a favor from a Harper, but this man had acted without knowing who she was. He'd saved her children, her entire world, and hadn't asked for a thing. "I need to thank him," Claire said, standing. "Diane, can you stay with the twins?" "Of course," Diane said, sliding into the ambulance. "Take your time." Claire stepped into the rain, pulling her torn gown tighter around her. The storm had eased slightly, but the air was still heavy with moisture. Firefighters were starting to gain control, and the crowd of staff and gala guests had thinned, many retreating to their cars or the main house. Claire made her way to Jack's ambulance, her heels sinking into the muddy lawn. As she approached, Jack looked up, pulling the oxygen mask down. His brown eyes met hers, and for a moment, neither spoke. Claire noticed the lines on his face, signs of a life not cushioned by wealth or ease. Yet there was a warmth in his gaze, a quiet strength that made her feel oddly grounded. "Mr. Mitchell," she began, her voice steadier than she felt. "I'm Claire Harper, Ava and Liam's mother." I don't even know where to start. You saved my children. I owe you everything. Jack shifted, clearly uncomfortable. Just Jack. Ma'am? And you don't owe me anything. I'm glad they're okay. Claire shook her head, a strand of wet hair falling across her face. You risked your life. Most people would have waited for the firefighters. Why didn't you? Jack hesitated, rubbing the back of his neck. I've got a son, Noah. He's 8. If he was in there, I'd want someone to go in for him. Couldn't just stand by. His words hit Claire like a wave. She thought of Ava's fragile heart, Liam's boundless energy, how close she'd come to losing them. You're a father, she said softly. That explains it? Jack gave a small smile. Yeah, it's kind of a job requirement to do crazy things for kids. Claire laughed, a sound that surprised her. Well, you're exceptional at it. Please, let me do something to thank you. Anything you need. Jack's smile faded, and he shook his head. Appreciate it, but I'm good. Just take care of those kids. Before Claire could press, Ethan the paramedic interrupted. Mr. Mitchell, we're going to take you to Portland General for a quick checkup. Standard procedure after smoke exposure. I'm fine, Jack protested, but Ethan was firm. Humor us, Ethan said. Won't take long. Claire stepped back. I'll make sure someone contacts you. Jack, we're not done here. Jack gave a reluctant nod, and as the ambulance doors closed, Claire stood in the rain, watching it drive away. Her mind was racing. Jack Mitchell wasn't like anyone she'd met in her world of power and privilege, and she wasn't letting this end with a handshake in the rain. Jack's hospital visit was mercifully short. After a chest x-ray and some blood work, the doctor cleared him, prescribing rest and plenty of fluids for the next few days. By 11 p. He was back in his truck, the rain now a light drizzle. His phone had survived, and he called Mrs. Petrillo to explain the delay, apologizing profusely. Don't you dare apologize. Jack Mitchell, Mrs. Petrillo said. Noah's asleep on my couch, dreaming of whales. You did something amazing tonight. Get some rest, and pick him up in the morning. Thanks, Mrs. P. Jack said, his voice thick with gratitude. You're a saint. He drove home, the events of the night replaying in his mind. The fire, the kids' frightened faces, the woman, Claire Harper, looking at him like he'd handed her the moon. He'd heard the name Harper before, tied to wealth and influence, but he hadn't connected the dots until now. She was that Claire Harper, the tech mogul who'd been on magazine covers. The realization made him uneasy. People like her lived in a different universe. One he had no interest in touching. Back at his apartment, Jack showered off the soot and collapsed into bed. But sleep didn't come easy. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw flames, heard Ava's calm voice through her tears. He thought of Noah, safe with Mrs. Petrillo, and felt a surge of gratitude that he'd made it out to come home to his son. By 3 a.m., exhaustion finally won, and he drifted into a fitful sleep. The next morning, Jack woke to sunlight streaming through his cracked blinds. His throat was still sore, but he felt better than expected. He glanced at the clock. 7:15 a.m. He needed to pick up Noah and get to a plumbing job by 9. Life didn't pause for heroics. He drove to Mrs. Petrillo's, where Noah greeted him with a bear hug. Dad, Mrs. P said you saved kids from a fire. Are you a superhero now? Jack laughed, ruffling Noah's hair. Nah, just a dad doing dad things. How's my favorite scientist? Noah launched into a story about the puzzle he'd built with Mrs. H. Petrillo. But Jack's mind wandered to the hospital bills that might come from last night's checkup. Insurance would cover most of it. He hoped. But even a small copay could tip his budget over the edge. Back home, Jack was making Noah's breakfast peanut butter toast and orange juice when his phone buzzed. An unknown number. He answered cautiously. Hello? Mr. Mitchell. This is Diane Carter, Claire Harper's assistant. Miss, Harper would like to meet with you to express her gratitude in person. Are you free this afternoon? Jack froze, a butter knife in hand. I appreciate that, but it's not necessary. I've got work. Miss Diaz, Harper insists, Diane said, her tone polite but firm. She's arranged a time at her office downtown. 2 p. It won't take long, and we'll work around your schedule. Jack sighed. He didn't want to get tangled in whatever this was, but saying no felt rude. All right, 2 p. Where? Diane gave him the address, a sleek office building in Portland's business district. Jack hung up, uneasy. He didn't trust rich people's gratitude. It often came with strings. But for now, he'd go, say thanks, and get back to his life. At 1:45 p. Jack pulled into the parking lot of Harper Technologies headquarters, a modern glass tower that gleamed in the afternoon sun. He'd swapped his coveralls for a clean flannel shirt and jeans, but he still felt out of place among the suited professionals streaming in and out. Noah was at school, giving Jack a rare free hour before his next job. Inside, the lobby was all marble and chrome, with a massive digital screen displaying Harper Technologies' latest solar panel designs. Jack approached the reception desk, where a young woman smiled. Mr. Mitchell, Mrs. Harper's expecting you. Take the elevator to the 20th floor. The elevator ride felt like it took forever. Each floor a reminder of how far this world was from his own. When the doors opened, Diane, a woman in her 40s with a sharp bob and a warm smile, greeted him. Jack, thank you for coming. This way. Please. She led him through a hallway lined with awards and framed articles about Claire's achievements. Jack caught headlines like Tech Titan redefines energy and Claire Harper. The future is hers. He felt like he'd stepped into a movie. Diane ushered him into a corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Portland's waterfront. Claire stood behind a sleek desk, reviewing documents. But she looked up as Jack entered. She was different from last night, no torn gown or rain-soaked hair. Today, she wore a tailored navy blazer and skirt. Her blonde hair pulled into a neat bun, but her green eyes held the same intensity, softened by gratitude. Jack, she said, stepping around the desk with a smile. Thank you for coming. Please. Sit. Jack took a seat in a leather chair that probably cost more than his truck. Miss Harper, I appreciate this, but you really don't need to make a fuss. Call me Claire, she said, sitting across from him. And it's not a fuss. You saved my children. That's not something I can just move past. Jack shifted, unsure what to say. They're good kids. Brave. You should be proud. I am, Claire said, her voice catching. Ava's been through so much with her heart condition. And Liam, he's fearless. But that gets him into trouble. Losing them would have... She trailed off, then met his eyes. You gave me my world back. Jack, I need you to know that. Jack nodded, his discomfort growing. He wasn't used to this kind of gratitude, raw and unguarded. I'm just glad they're okay, he said. Anyone would have done it. Not anyone, Claire countered. Most people don't run into burning buildings. You did. Why? Jack thought of Noah, of Sarah. of the promises he'd made to be the kind of man his son could look up to. Like I said last night, I've got a son. I'd hope someone would do the same for him. Claire leaned back, studying him. Tell me about your son. Jack hesitated, then relaxed slightly. Talking about Noah was easy. Noah's 8, loves science, especially whales. He's smart, curious, always asking questions I can't answer. Keeps me on my toes. Claire smiled. Sounds like Liam. Ava's the serious one. She's already planning her future as an astronaut or a doctor. Liam just wants to build spaceships. Jack chuckled. Noah'd probably join him. He's got a whole notebook of inventions, most of which would probably explode. They shared a laugh, the tension easing for a moment. Jack forgot he was in a billionaire's office. Claire felt normal, like someone he could have met at a school event or a coffee shop. But the reality of her world, the polished office, the security guard outside snapped him back. So, Claire said, her tone shifting to business. I want to do something for you. Not just a thank you, but something meaningful. I understand you run a plumbing business. Jack stiffened. Here, it was the part he dreaded. Yeah, Mitchell Plumbing. Small operation. Just me. But I'm doing fine. Claire, I don't need a handout. It's not a handout, she said quickly. I'm proposing a contract. Harper Technologies has properties across main offices, warehouses, even some residential buildings. We're always needing maintenance, especially plumbing. I'd like to hire your company for a trial period. Fair pay. Steady work. What do you say? Jack's first instinct was to say no. He didn't want charity disguised as a job. But then he thought of Noah's field trip, the overdue bills, the constant stress of scraping by. A contract like this could be a game changer, not just for him, but for his son. Still, his pride stung. I'll think about it, he said finally. Can I get back to you? Of course, Claire said, handing him a business card with her personal number. No pressure, Jack. But I believe in rewarding good work and good people. Jack took the card, their fingers brushing briefly. He stood, ready to leave. Thanks for the offer, Claire. And for taking the time. One more thing, she said, standing too. Ava and Liam keep asking about Mr. Jack. They'd love to see you again. Maybe you and Noah could come by the house sometime. No business. Just a thank you from them. Jack paused. The idea of Noah meeting the twins sounded nice, but stepping into Claire's world felt like crossing a line. Maybe, he said. I'll let you know. Claire smiled, and Jack felt a strange warmth at the genuineness in it. Fair enough. Take care, Jack. The rest of Jack's day was a blur of work fixing a burst pipe at a restaurant, then a clogged drain at an apartment complex. But Claire's offer lingered in his mind. By evening, he was back home, helping Noah with homework at their kitchen table. Noah was drawing a diagram of a whale's anatomy, chattering about echolocation. Dad, did you meet the kid's mom today? Noah asked, not looking up from his crayons. Yeah, Jack said, stirring a pot of mac and cheese. Her name's Claire. Nice lady. She's grateful for what happened. Are the kids okay? They're fine. Buddy. Tough. Like you. Noah grinned. Can I meet them? They sound cool. Jack hesitated. Maybe someday. They live in a pretty different world from us. Noah shrugged, unfazed. Doesn't matter. Friends are friends. Jack smiled, marveling at his son's simplicity. Maybe Noah was right. Maybe it didn't have to be complicated. But as he tucked Noah into bed that night, reading a chapter of The Magic School Bus, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that meeting Claire again would pull him into something bigger than he was ready for. Meanwhile, at the Harper estate, now under repair after the fire, Claire sat in her home office, reviewing damage reports. The East Wing was a total loss, but insurance would cover most of it. The cause, investigators suspected, was an electrical fault in the playroom, worsened by the storm's power surges. Claire shuddered at the thought of what could have happened if Jack hadn't been there. Ava and Liam were asleep upstairs, their nanny keeping a close eye. Claire had spent the evening with them, playing board games and answering their endless questions about Mr. Jack. Their admiration for him was unshakable, and Claire found herself sharing it. Jack Mitchell was unexpected, humble, guarded, but with a quiet strength that intrigued her. She picked up her phone, hesitating, then texted Diane. Any updates on Jack Mitchell's background? Diane replied quickly. Basic rundown. 34, widowed 3 years ago. Wife died of cancer. One son, Noah, 8. Runs a small plumbing business. No major debts, but tight finances. No criminal record. Not even a parking ticket. Seems like a solid guy. Claire set the phone down, staring out her window at the darkened garden. Jack's refusal of her help hadn't surprised her. Pride was a powerful thing, but she wasn't giving up. Not because she felt obligated, but because something about him felt real. In her world of facades and agendas, that was rare. The next few days passed quietly for Jack. He worked, took Noah to school, and dodged calls from local reporters who'd caught wind of his rescue. The story had made the Portland Press-Herald's front page. Local plumber saves billionaire's twins from blaze. Jack hated the attention, but Noah thought it was super cool. On Friday, Jack got a call from Diane, reminding him about Claire's contract offer. He'd been stalling, torn between his pride and the practical benefits. Finally, he called Claire's number, his heart pounding as it rang. Jack, Claire answered, her voice warm. I was hoping you'd call. I've thought about your offer, he said. I'm in. Trial period. Like you said, but I want it to be fair. No special treatment because of what happened. Deal, Claire said, and he could hear her smile. I'll have Diane send the paperwork. And Jack, bring Noah by sometime. The twins won't stop talking about you. Jack chuckled. They're persistent. Huh. I'll think about it. As he hung up, Jack felt a mix of relief and apprehension. He was stepping into Claire's world. Just a little. But as he looked at Noah, sprawled on the couch with a science book, he knew it was worth a shot for his son, if not for himself. That weekend, Claire took Ava and Liam to a park near their temporary home, a rented mansion while their estate was repaired. The twins ran ahead, chasing a soccer ball, while Claire watched from a bench. Her mind kept drifting to Jack. She'd sent the contract paperwork, and Diane confirmed he'd signed it. It felt like a small victory, but she wanted more, not just a business deal, but a connection. As the twins played, Claire's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. It was Jack. Hey, Claire. Noah's been asking about Ava and Liam. Any chance we could swing by the park tomorrow? No pressure. Claire's heart lifted. She typed back, we'd love that. Tana. Oh. At Riverside Park, Jack's reply came quickly. Sounds good. See you then. Claire smiled, tucking her phone away. Tomorrow, she'd see Jack again. Not as a CEO or a grateful mother, but as, what? A friend. Something more. She wasn't sure, but for the first time in years, she felt a spark of anticipation, like the start of something new. The sun was just breaking through a layer of morning clouds as Jack Mitchell pulled his old Ford truck into the parking lot of Riverside Park. The air smelled of damp grass and pine, and the distant crash of waves from Portland's coastline carried on the breeze. Noah, strapped into the passenger seat, was practically vibrating with excitement. His backpack stuffed with a sketchbook, crayons, and a toy submarine he insisted on bringing to show the twins. "Dad, are Ava and Liam gonna like submarines?" Noah asked, clutching the toy as Jack turned off the engine. Jack grinned, unbuckling his seatbelt. "If they're anything like you, they'll love it. Just don't start a water fight with that thing." "Okay," Noah giggled. "No promises." Jack stepped out, stretching his arms. He'd swapped his usual work flannel for a clean gray hoodie and jeans, but he still felt underdressed for meeting Claire Harper. The park was lively families picnicking, kids chasing soccer balls, and dog walkers weaving through the crowd. Riverside Park was one of Portland's gems, with sprawling green fields, a playground shaped like a pirate ship, and a winding path along the river. Jack hadn't been here in months, not since a rare day off when he and Noah had flown kites until sunset. He glanced at his phone. 9:55. 5 minutes early. Claire had texted last night to confirm, suggesting they meet near the playground's big slide. Jack took Noah's hand, navigating through the park, his stomach doing an odd flip. He wasn't nervous. Exactly. But something about seeing Claire again outside the chaos of the fire or the polished setting of her office felt different, more personal. "Dad, look." Noah pointed to the playground, where a giant red slide towered over a maze of climbing bars and swings. At its base stood Claire, unmistakable even in casual clothes. She wore a cream sweater, jeans, and sneakers, her blonde hair loose and catching the sunlight. Ava and Liam were already on the slide, shrieking as they raced each other down. Jack took a deep breath, squeezing Noah's hand. "Let's go, buddy." As they approached, Claire spotted them and waved, her smile bright and unguarded. "Jack, Noah, over here." Noah tugged free and ran ahead, his shyness vanishing. "Hi, are you Ava and Liam's mom?" Claire knelt to his level, her eyes twinkling. "I sure am." "You must be Noah. I hear you're a submarine expert." Noah beamed, holding up his toy. "Yep. This is the Nautilus 3000. I made it up. It can dive to the bottom of the ocean." "Impressive," Claire said, inspecting the toy with mock seriousness. "I bet Liam would love to see it." "He's over there," plotting to take over the slide. Jack caught up, offering a small smile. "Hey, Claire. Looks like Noah's already making friends." "He's a natural," Claire said, standing. "Thanks for coming, Jack. The twins haven't stopped talking about you since the fire." Jack rubbed the back of his neck, a habit when he felt out of place. "They're good kids." Noah's been just as excited to meet them. Claire gestured to a nearby picnic table, where a canvas tote held water bottles and snacks. "I brought some stuff in case the kids get hungry. Want to sit while they play?" "Sure," Jack said. Following her, the table was under a sprawling oak, its leaves just starting to turn autumn red. From here, they had a clear view of the playground, where Noah was already introducing himself to Ava and Liam. The twins, in matching blue jackets, listened intently as Noah showed off his submarine. "Look at them," Claire said, her voice warm. "You'd think they've known each other forever." Jack watched Noah hand the submarine to Liam, who immediately pretended to dive it through an imaginary ocean. Ava, more reserved, offered a shy smile and pointed to the slide, inviting Noah to join them. "Noah's never met a stranger," Jack said. "He'll talk anyone's ear off about whales or spaceships." "Ava's quieter," Claire said. "She thinks before she speaks. But once she trusts you, she's unstoppable." Liam's the opposite, acts first, thinks later. Sounds like a handful. Jack chuckled. You have no idea, Claire said, laughing. But they keep me grounded. What about Noah? What's he like at home? Jack leaned back, relaxing into the conversation. He's curious, always asking why things work. Last week, he took apart my old radio to study the circuits. It took me 2 hours to put it back together. Claire's eyes lit up. A future engineer. Maybe. Ava's already planning her astronaut career. She's got a star chart on her bedroom ceiling. They'd probably team up to build a rocket, Jack said, picturing it. Noah's got a notebook full of inventions, most of them impossible. But he's convinced they'll work. They laughed, the sound blending with the kids' shouts from the playground. For a moment, Jack forgot the gap between their lives, his world of bills and late-night shifts, hers of boardrooms and private jets. Here, under the oak tree, they were just parents, swapping stories about their kids. On the playground, Noah was in his element. He'd climbed to the top of the slide, where Ava and Liam were debating whether to slide down backward or head first. Backwards faster, Noah declared, sitting at the edge. I tested it at school. Ava tilted her head, considering, but head first feels like flying. Flying's cooler, Liam said, flopping onto his stomach. Let's do it. They took turns, tumbling down the slide in a heap of giggles. Noah, usually the leader in his school group, liked how Ava thought things through, like a puzzle, and how Liam's wild ideas matched his own. You guys ever build a fort? Noah asked, dusting off his jeans. We had one, Liam said, his face falling, but it burned in the fire. Ava nodded. Mister, Jack saved us from it. He was like a superhero. Noah's chest puffed out. That's my dad. He fixes pipes, too. He says water's stronger than fire. Your dad's awesome, Liam said, kicking a pebble. Our dad, he's not around. Ava shot Liam a look, but Noah just shrugged. Mine's just me and Dad. Mom's in heaven. It's okay. Though, Dad's enough. Ava's expression softened. Our mom's enough, too, but she's busy a lot. Let's make a new fort, Noah suggested, changing the subject. There's sticks over there by the trees. We can use my jacket for a roof. The twins lit up, and they raced to a cluster of pines, gathering branches and plotting their masterpiece. Noah felt a warmth in his chest. He hadn't had friends like this in a while, ones who got his ideas without laughing. Back at the picnic table, Claire poured water for herself and Jack. Her movements graceful but unpretentious. So, she said, handing him a bottle. How's the contract going? Diane said you signed the paperwork. Jack nodded, taking a sip. Yeah, got it yesterday. First job's tomorrow, an office building downtown. Sounds straightforward. Good, Claire said. I meant what I said. Jack, this isn't charity. Your work will speak for itself. Jack met her gaze, searching for any hint of pity. He found none, just sincerity. I appreciate that. It's a big deal for me and Noah. Steady work's hard to come by. Claire tilted her head. Running your own business can't be easy, especially as a single parent. How do you do it? Jack shrugged, but his voice was honest. You just do. Noah needs me, so I keep going. Some days our harder bills stack up. Truck breaks down. You name it. But he's worth it. Claire's expression softened, a flicker of something deeper in her eyes. I get that. After my divorce, it was just me and the twins. I had help nannies, staff, but it's not the same. You're always the one they need at the end of the day. Jack nodded, surprised at how easily they understood each other. Noah's my anchor. Keeps me from getting lost in the tough stuff." Claire smiled, but there was a wistfulness to it. "Ava and Liam are mine, though sometimes I wonder if I'm enough for them. My work, it takes a lot." Jack sensed the weight behind her words. "They're happy kids." "Claire, you're doing something right." She looked at him, her guard dropping. "Thank you, Jack. That means more than you know." Their conversation flowed, touching on parenting challenges, funny kid moments, and even small dreams. Jack's hope to take Noah on a whale-watching trip. Claire's wish to spend a summer with the twins, unplugged from her phone. The more they talked, the more Jack felt a connection, not just as parents, but as people. Claire wasn't the untouchable billionaire from the magazines. She was real, with doubts and hopes like his own. An hour later, the kids ran back to the table, faces flushed and hands dirty from their fort building. "Mom, we made a castle," Liam announced. "Bouncing. Noah's the king, Ava's the knight, and I'm the dragon." "Sounds epic," Claire said, ruffling Liam's hair. "Any room for a queen?" "You can be the wizard," Ava suggested. "You make magic happen." Claire laughed, pulling out a bag of apple slices and granola bars. "Magic. Huh. How about some snacks to fuel your royal adventures?" The kids dove in, chattering about their fort and planning a battle with imaginary pirates. Noah sat between Ava and Liam, fitting in like he'd always been part of their trio. Jack watched, his heart swelling. Noah didn't make friends easily, not because he was shy, but because he felt things deeply, like Jack did. Seeing him so happy with the twins was a gift. "Jack," Claire said quietly, leaning closer. "Noah's amazing. He's got your heart." Jack's throat tightened. "Thanks. Your kids are pretty great, too. Ava's got a big future ahead, and Liam's gonna keep you on your toes." "They already do," Claire said, her smile soft. "I'm glad they're connecting. It's nice to see." Their eyes met, and for a moment, the world narrowed to just them. Jack felt a pull, something he hadn't felt since Sarah, a warmth that scared him as much as it drew him in. He broke the gaze, clearing his throat. "We should probably head out soon. Noah's got homework, and I've got a job to prep for." Claire nodded, though she looked reluctant. "Of course. But let's do this again. The kids would love it. And I enjoyed this." "Jack?" "Yeah," Jack said, surprised by his own honesty. "Me too." They gathered the kids, who protested but agreed to come back another day to defend the castle. As they walked to the parking lot, Noah held Ava's hand, promising to draw her a star chart, while Liam begged Jack to teach him how to fix pipes. Claire and Jack trailed behind, their steps slow, as if neither wanted the morning to end. At the truck, Jack helped Noah climb in, then turned to Claire. "Thanks for today. It was good for Noah. For Ava and Liam, too," Claire said. "And for me, take care, Jack. I'll see you at the office job tomorrow." "Wouldn't miss it," Jack said, managing a smile. Claire waved as they drove off, her figure growing smaller in the rearview mirror. Jack's chest felt tight, not with worry, but with something new, something he wasn't ready to name. The next day, Jack started his first job for Harper Technologies, a routine maintenance check at a downtown office building. The work was straightforward, replacing old valves, checking for leaks, but the scale was bigger than his usual gigs. The building was state-of-the-art, with solar panels and smart systems, a testament to Claire's vision. Jack worked efficiently, earning nods from the facilities manager, who seemed impressed. By noon, Claire stopped by, ostensibly to check on a project, but clearly to see Jack. She found him in the basement, toolbox open, sleeves rolled up. "How's it going?" she asked. Leaning against a pipe, Jack wiped his brow. "Standing. Good. Your system's solid. Just needs some tweaks. Should be done by end of day." "Great," Claire said, her smile warm. "I knew you'd be a good fit." Jack felt a flush of pride but kept it in check. "Just doing my job." They chatted briefly, the ease from the park carrying over. Claire mentioned the twins' latest obsession, building a model rocket, and Jack shared Noah's new plan to invent a whale-tracking drone. When Claire left, promising to check in later, Jack felt her presence linger, like a note of music he couldn't shake. Over the next week, Jack settled into the Harper contract, taking on more jobs across their properties. The pay was better than he'd expected, and for the first time in years, he paid the electric bill early. He even tucked away $50 for Noah's field trip, surprising his son with the news over pizza one night. Claire, meanwhile, found herself thinking of Jack more than she'd admit. She'd catch herself smiling at his texts, updates about jobs, or funny stories about Noah. She invited him and Noah to the temporary Harper home for dinner, a casual evening of spaghetti and board games. The kids bonded over Monopoly, while Jack and Claire washed dishes, their shoulders brushing in the cramped kitchen. It felt domestic, natural, and it scared Claire as much as it thrilled her. But not everything was smooth. At a Harper Technologies board meeting, Claire's ex-husband, Daniel Reed, made an unexpected appearance. He was a shareholder, thanks to their divorce settlement, and his presence was a calculated move. Tall, polished, with a charm that masked his ambition. Daniel cornered Claire after the meeting. "Claire," he said, his voice smooth, "I heard about the fire. And this plumber you've hired, interesting choice." Claire's jaw tightened. "He saved our children." "Daniel, something you'd never understand." Daniel smirked. "Just looking out for you. Mixing business with gratitude can get messy. People might talk." "Let them," Claire snapped, walking away. But Daniel's words planted a seed of doubt. She'd fought hard to be taken seriously in a male-dominated industry. Would her connection with Jack be seen as a weakness? Jack, unaware of Daniel's shadow, was facing his own doubts. His neighbor, Mrs. Petrillo, noticed his lighter mood and teased him about that fancy lady. Jack brushed it off, but her words echoed his fears. Claire was out of his league wealthy, powerful, untouchable. What was he doing? Letting himself feel something for her. He'd loved Sarah with everything he had, and losing her had nearly broken him. Could he risk that kind of pain again? Yet every time he saw Claire, her laugh, her strength, the way she looked at him like he was more than a plumber, he felt himself falling. And the kids' friendship only pulled them closer. Noah, Ava, and Liam were inseparable, planning a science club with experiments that usually ended in messes. Jack and Claire became a team, cleaning up spilled paint or untangling kite strings, their bond growing with each shared moment. One evening, after a long day, Jack and Claire sat on her rented mansion's porch, watching the kids chase fireflies in the yard. The air was cool, the sky streaked with pink. Claire handed Jack a lemonade, their fingers brushing. "Jack," she said softly, "I'm glad you're here, not just for the work, but for this, for us." Jack's heart raced. "Us," Claire blushed, rare vulnerability in her eyes. "I don't know what this is yet, but I like it." "I like you," Jack swallowed, his voice low. "I like you too, Claire. But your world, it's not mine. I don't know if I fit." She reached for his hand, her touch steady. "You fit with me. That's enough for now." They sat in silence, hands clasped, As the kids' laughter filled the night, Jack felt a promise forming not just to Claire, but to himself. Maybe, just maybe, he could let himself hope again. The morning sun filtered through the blinds of Jack Mitchell's small apartment, casting stripes of light across the kitchen table. Jack stood at the stove, flipping pancakes for Noah, who was sprawled on the living room floor, sketching a super submarine for his science club with Ava and Liam. The smell of batter and maple syrup filled the air, a comforting contrast to the unease Jack had been carrying since his moment with Claire on her porch a few days ago. "Dad, can we add rockets to the submarine?" Noah called, holding up his drawing. "Liam says it'd be cooler if it could fly." Jack chuckled, sliding a pancake onto a plate. "Rockets. Huh. You three are going to take over NASA at this rate. Come eat before it gets cold." Noah scampered to the table, his brown hair a mess, eyes bright with ideas. Jack set the plate down, ruffling his son's hair. These mornings were his favorite quiet. Simple, just him and Noah. But lately, his thoughts kept drifting to Claire, her smile, her touch, the way she'd said, "You fit with me." It felt like a promise, but one Jack wasn't sure he could keep. Her world of wealth and power was so far from his, and the gap felt wider every time he thought about it. "Dad, you're staring at the pancakes," Noah said, mouth full. "You okay?" Jack blinked, forcing a grin. "Just thinking, buddy. You excited for the science club today?" "Yep," Noah said, syrup dripping down his chin. "Ava's bringing a telescope, and Liam's got glow-in-the-dark paint. We're making a space station." Jack nodded, but his mind was elsewhere. The science club was at Claire's rented mansion, and he'd promised to drop Noah off and stay for a bit. Seeing Claire again thrilled him, but it also stirred his doubts. What was he doing? Letting himself fall for someone like her? He'd loved Sarah with everything he had, and losing her had left scars he still felt. Opening his heart again, especially to someone whose life was so different, felt like walking a tightrope. He pushed the thoughts aside, focusing on Noah. "Sounds like a blast. Just don't paint the walls." "Okay." Noah giggled. No promises. Across town, Claire Harper stood in the kitchen of her temporary home, a spacious, rented mansion with high ceilings and views of the Atlantic. She was slicing fruit for the kids' science club, her movements precise despite the whirlwind in her mind. Ava and Liam were upstairs, gathering supplies, cardboard tubes, glitter, and a telescope Ava had begged for last Christmas. The twins were buzzing with excitement, but Claire's thoughts were on Jack. Their moment on the porch had replayed in her head all week, his hand in hers. His quiet admission that he liked her. It was the most vulnerable she'd felt in years, and it scared her. Claire had built walls after her divorce from Daniel, focusing on her kids and Harper Technologies. Love wasn't part of the plan, but Jack was different, grounded, kind, with a heart that matched hers in ways she hadn't expected. Yet Daniel's snide comments at the board meeting lingered, sowing seeds of doubt. Would people see her connection with Jack as a scandal? A CEO slumming it with a plumber? She hated that it mattered. But in her world, perception was power. "Mom, can we use your laptop for star videos?" Ava called, poking her head into the kitchen, her serious green eyes, so like Claire's, sparkled with anticipation. "Sure, sweetheart," Claire said, wiping her hands. "Just don't download anything weird." "Okay." Ava grinned and vanished, her footsteps echoing upstairs. Claire smiled, but her thoughts drifted back to Jack. She'd checked in on his work for Harper Technologies. His maintenance jobs were flawless, earning praise from her facilities team. But she wanted more than a professional relationship. She wanted him in her life. And the twins, in a real way. The question was whether Jack felt the same or if the differences between them would push him away. Her phone buzzed. A text from Diane. Daniel's been asking about the Mitchell contract. Wants to discuss at next board meeting. Heads up. Claire's jaw tightened. Daniel was fishing, looking for leverage. He'd always been good at finding weak spots, and her connection with Jack was a target. She typed back, "Let him try. The contract's legit, and Jack's work is stellar." But as she hit send, a knot formed in her stomach. Daniel wasn't just a nuisance. He was a threat to the fragile hope she was building with Jack. By Tenet. Jack and Noah arrived at Claire's mansion, the truck's engine rattling as they parked. The house was modern but warm, with ivy climbing its stone walls and a wide lawn where the kids could play. Noah bolted out, clutching his submarine drawing, while Jack grabbed a bag of snacks he'd brought, chips and cookies. Nothing fancy, but he didn't want to show up empty-handed. Claire met them at the door, her casual sweater and jeans making her look more like a mom than a CEO. "Jack, Noah, you made it," she said, her smile lighting up her face. The twins are in the living room, ready to launch their space station. Noah didn't need an invitation. "Ava, Liam," he shouted, racing inside. Jack heard the twins' excited yells, followed by a crash that sounded suspiciously like a pile of cardboard collapsing. Claire laughed. "That's their third attempt at a rocket." "Come in." "Jack, coffee." "Sure," Jack said, following her to the kitchen. The house was bright, with sunlight streaming through tall windows and kids' toys scattered across the floor. It felt lived in, not like the sterile mansions he'd seen in Crescent Hill. He relaxed slightly. Setting the snacks on the counter, Claire poured coffee, handing him a mug. "How's the week been?" "The facilities team says you're a miracle worker." Jack shrugged, sipping the coffee, rich. "Way better than his instant stuff. Just doing my job. Your buildings are top-notch. Makes my work easier. You're modest," Claire said, leaning against the counter. "But I'm not surprised. The twins keep calling you Super Jack." "Chapo," Jack chuckled, but his cheeks warmed. They're sweet kids. Noah's obsessed with their science club. He hasn't stopped talking about it. Claire's eyes softened. "I'm glad they're friends. It's special, seeing them together." Their gazes locked, and Jack felt that pull again, the one that made his heart race and his doubts quiet. But before he could say anything, Liam burst in, covered in glitter. "Mom, Noah says we need tape. Lots of tape." Claire laughed, grabbing a roll from a drawer. "Here, but don't tape yourselves to the walls." "Okay." Liam saluted and ran off, leaving a trail of sparkles. Jack shook his head, grinning. "You've got your hands full." "You have no idea," Claire said, but her tone was fond. "Want to see their masterpiece." They walked to the living room, where the kids had transformed the space into a chaotic space station. Cardboard tubes formed a rocket, draped with an old sheet painted with stars. Ava was taping a paper moon to the wall, while Noah and Liam argued over whether aliens would have 3 eyes or 5. "Looking good. Astronauts," Jack called, earning cheers from the trio. "It's the best space station ever," Noah declared. "Ava says we can see real stars tonight." Claire nodded. "I was thinking we could set up the telescope in the backyard after dinner. You and Jack are welcome to stay." Jack hesitated. Staying meant more time with Claire, which he wanted, but it also meant sinking deeper into her world. "Sounds fun," he said finally. "If Noah's okay with it." "I'm so okay," Noah said, not looking up from his tape. Claire smiled, touching Jack's arm lightly. "Great. It's a plan." The day flew by in a blur of laughter and glitter. Jack helped the kids with their rocket, cutting cardboard while Claire supervised paint application to avoid disasters. The science club was less about science and more about imagination. But the kids' joy was infectious. Jack found himself stealing glances at Claire, her laugh, the way she knelt to help Ava with a star, the ease with which she included Noah like he was one of her own. By late afternoon, the space station was complete and the kids were sprawled on the floor, planning a mission to Mars. Claire suggested a break for pizza, and Jack offered to pick it up, needing a moment to clear his head. The feelings stirring in him were undeniable, but so were his fears. He wasn't just risking his heart, he was risking Noah's. 2. If this didn't work, his son could get hurt. At the pizza place, Jack's phone buzzed with a local news alert. Harper Fire, Hero faces scrutiny over contract. His stomach dropped as he skimmed the article. It was a gossip piece, questioning whether Claire's company had hired him out of favoritism rather than merit. The source, an anonymous insider who sounded a lot like Daniel Reed. Jack's jaw clenched. He didn't care about the gossip, but the idea that his work and Claire's reputation could be dragged through the mud because of him stung. Back at the mansion, he handed over the pizzas, his mood quieter. Claire noticed, pulling him aside while the kids devoured their slices. "Everything okay?" she asked, her green eyes searching his. Jack hesitated, then showed her the article. This came up. "Thought you should know." Claire's face hardened as she read, her fingers tightening on the phone. "Daniel," she muttered. "This has his fingerprints all over it." "Your ex?" Jack asked, his voice low. "He's got a problem with me." "With me?" Claire corrected. "He's trying to undermine me, using you to do it." "I'm so sorry." "Jack, this isn't fair to you." Jack shrugged, though the knot in his chest tightened. "I can handle gossip, but I don't want to make things harder for you or the kids." "You're not," Claire said fiercely. "Your work is impeccable, and I hired you because you're good, not because of the fire. Daniel's just being Daniel." Jack nodded, but the article had stirred his doubts. "Claire, I like what's happening here, with us, but your world, it's complicated. I'm just a guy fixing pipes. People like your ex, they're not gonna let this slide." Claire stepped closer, her voice soft but firm. "I don't care what people like Daniel think. I care about you, and Noah, and my kids. We'll figure this out, Jack." Together, her words were a lifeline. But Jack's fears didn't vanish. Still, he nodded, letting her conviction anchor him. "Okay." Together. Dinner was a lively affair, with the kids debating whether Martians would like pizza. Afterward, Claire set up the telescope in the backyard, a grassy expanse lit by fairy lights strung along a fence. The night was clear, stars glittering above the ocean. Jack helped Noah aim the telescope at Jupiter, while Ava showed Liam how to find the Big Dipper. Claire stood beside Jack, their shoulders brushing. "Beautiful, isn't it?" she said, gazing at the sky. "Yeah," Jack said, but he was looking at her. In the starlight, she was breathtaking, not the CEO, but the woman who laughed with his son, who made him feel seen. The kids begged for one more constellation, and Claire obliged, pointing out Orion. As they watched, Noah leaned against Jack, sleepy but content, while Ava and Liam curled up with Claire. It felt like a family, and the thought both warmed and terrified Jack. The next few days were a whirlwind. Jack's work for Harper Technologies kept him busy, but the gossip article spread, fueled by Daniel's subtle nudging. At a parent-teacher conference, Jack overheard whispers from other parents, speculating about his connection with Claire. He brushed it off, but it grated. Noah, oblivious, was thriving. his friendship with Ava and Liam growing stronger. They'd started a group chat, sending each other drawings and silly memes, which Jack found both adorable and alarming. Claire, meanwhile, was fighting her own battles. Daniel requested a board meeting to review vendor contracts, a clear jab at Jack. She prepared meticulously, gathering data on Jack's performance, every job completed on time, under budget, with glowing reviews. But the scrutiny wore on her. She wasn't just defending Jack, she was defending her right to live her life on her terms. One evening, Claire invited Jack and Noah to a local science fair, where the kids were presenting their space station. The fair was held at Portland's community center, a bustling space filled with posters, models, and excited kids. Noah, Ava, and Liam stood proudly by their project, explaining their mission to Mars to judges, while Jack and Claire watched from the crowd. "They're amazing," Claire said, her arm brushing Jack's. "I'm so proud." "Me too," Jack said, but his eyes were on her. "You're good for them." "Claire, for Noah, too," she smiled, squeezing his hand. "And you're good for me." The moment was perfect until Daniel appeared, weaving through the crowd with his trademark charm. He stopped in front of them, his smile sharp. "Claire." "Jack, didn't expect to see you here." Claire's grip on Jack's hand tightened. "Daniel, this is a kids' event. What do you want?" "Just supporting the community," Daniel said, his eyes flicking to Jack. "And checking on my kids. Heard you've been spending a lot of time with them. Mitchell, hope you're up to the task." Jack's jaw clenched, but he kept his voice steady. "I care about those kids. Reed, same as I care about my son." Daniel's smirk didn't waver. "Good to know. But mixing personal and professional, tricky business. Right?" "Claire." Claire stepped forward, her voice ice cold. "Leave." "Daniel, this isn't your place." Daniel raised his hands, feigning innocence. "Just a friendly chat. See you at the board meeting." "Claire." As he walked away, Jack felt a surge of anger, but Claire's touch grounded him. "Ignore him," she said. "He's trying to get under our skin." "Easier said than done," Jack muttered. But when Noah ran over, waving a ribbon for most creative project, Jack pushed Daniel out of his mind. This night was for the kids, not for grudges. Later, at Claire's house, the kids celebrated with ice cream, while Jack and Claire sat on the couch, debriefing. "Daniel's not going to stop," Claire admitted, her voice low. "He sees you as a threat, not just to me, but to his influence." Jack rubbed his face, exhausted. "I don't want to be the reason you're fighting battles." "Claire, maybe this is too complicated." Claire turned to him, her eyes fierce. "You're not the reason, Jack. You're the reason I'm fighting for something. Don't let him make you doubt that." Jack looked at her, the weight of her words sinking in. "You're stubborn. You know that." She smiled, leaning closer. "Takes one to know one." They laughed, the tension breaking. Jack took her hand, feeling the promise they'd made solidify. Daniel could scheme, the world could talk. But this, whatever it was, felt worth fighting for. The autumn wind swept through Portland, carrying the scent of fallen leaves and the promise of change. Jack Mitchell stood in his apartment, staring at a stack of paid bills on the kitchen table, a rare sight, thanks to the steady work from Harper Technologies. Noah was at school, probably telling Ava and Liam about his latest invention for their science club. Life was good, better than it had been in years. But Jack's heart was heavy with a decision he couldn't ignore. It had been a week since the science fair, where Daniel Reed's pointed words had cut deeper than Jack wanted to admit. The gossip about his contract with Claire's company had grown, fueled by Daniel's anonymous leaks to the press. Jack could handle the whispers he'd faced worse, but the idea that his presence was hurting Claire's reputation gnawed at him. She was a powerhouse, a woman who'd built an empire. And he was just a plumber. A good one, sure, but not someone who belonged in her world of boardrooms and galas. Yet every time he thought of pulling away, he saw Claire's face, her fierce green eyes, her smile when she watched their kids play. The way her hand felt in his, he was falling for her, hard, and it scared him. Losing Sarah had nearly destroyed him. Could he risk that kind of pain again? And what about Noah? His son adored Ava and Liam, calling them his space crew. If things with Claire went south, Noah would be heartbroken too. Jack's phone buzzed, pulling him from his thoughts. A text from Claire. Board meeting today. Daniel's pushing his agenda. Could use a friend afterward. Dinner at my place. Kids included. Jack's chest tightened. He typed back, "I'll be there." "What time?" Her reply was quick. 6 p. No. Bring Noah's submarine. Liam's demanding a rematch. Jack smiled, but the weight didn't lift. He knew tonight wasn't just about dinner. Claire was fighting for him. For them. And he had to decide if he was all in or if he'd walk away. To protect them both. At Harper Technology's gleaming headquarters, Claire Harper stood at the head of a polished conference table, facing a room of board members in tailored suits. The air was thick with tension. Every eye on her as she prepared to address Daniel's motion to review vendor contracts code for targeting Jack's deal. Daniel sat across from her, his polished smile masking the venom beneath. At 38, he was still handsome, with sharp features and a charisma that had once charmed Claire. But she knew him now, a man driven by ego, always looking for an angle. "Thank you for joining today," Claire began, her voice steady. "Let's address the vendor review motion. I've prepared a report on all current contracts, including Mitchell Plumbing Services." She clicked a remote, projecting data onto a screen. Jack's jobs, completion times, costs, and glowing feedback from facilities managers. "Mr. Mitchell's work has saved us 15% on maintenance costs compared to our previous vendor, with 0 delays or errors. His contract was awarded through standard bidding, vetted by our legal team. Any questions?" Daniel leaned forward, his tone smooth. "Impressive numbers, Claire. But let's talk optics. Hiring a man who saved your children heroic, as that raises questions of favoritism. The press is already buzzing. We can't afford a PR hit." Claire's jaw clenched, but she kept her cool. "The press is buzzing because someone's feeding them stories. Daniel, Mitchell's contract is performance-based, and the data speaks for itself. If you're concerned about PR, I suggest focusing on our upcoming solar project, not baseless gossip." A murmur rippled through the room. An older board member, Mrs. Callahan, spoke up. "Claire, the numbers are solid, but Daniel has a point about perception. Can you assure us this contract is purely professional?" Claire's heart pounded, but she met Mrs. Callahan's gaze. "Mr. Mitchell was hired for his expertise. My personal gratitude for his actions has no bearing on his work. I stake my reputation on that." Daniel smirked, sensing an opening. Personal gratitude can blur lines. "Claire, we all want what's best for the company and your children. Mixing business with personal matters could complicate things." The jab hit its mark, but Claire didn't flinch. "My children are thriving, Daniel. No thanks to you. And my decisions as CEO have always put this company first. If there are no substantive concerns, I move to dismiss this review." The vote was close, but Claire's allies on the board carried the day. Daniel's motion was tabled, his smirk fading. As the meeting ended, Claire felt a mix of relief and fury. Daniel wasn't done, he never was, but she'd bought time. Now, she needed to see Jack, to remind herself why this fight was worth it. By 6 about so much to pay. Jack and Noah arrived at Claire's rented mansion, the warm glow of its windows a beacon against the chilly evening. Noah ran inside, clutching his submarine, and was immediately tackled by Ava and Liam in a flurry of hugs and laughter. Claire greeted Jack at the door, her smile tired but genuine. She wore a soft sweater and jeans, her hair loose, and Jack felt that familiar pull in his chest. "Rough day?" he asked, stepping inside. "You could say that," Claire said, leading him to the kitchen, "but it's better now." Hungry, the table was set with lasagna, garlic bread, and a salad simple but comforting. The kids chattered through dinner, planning a submarine versus spaceship battle, while Jack and Claire exchanged glances, their connection unspoken but strong. After dessert, chocolate chip cookies the kids had helped bake, Claire suggested a movie night. The kids piled onto the living room couch, arguing over The Incredibles versus Wall-E, while Jack and Claire cleaned up in the kitchen. Claire handed Jack a dish to dry, their fingers brushing. "Thanks for coming," she said softly. "Today was a lot." "Heard about the board meeting," Jack said, his voice low. "Daniel's not letting up." "Is he?" Claire sighed, setting down a plate. "No. He's trying to undermine me, using you as the wedge. I shut him down. But it's not over." Jack's stomach twisted. "Claire, I don't want to be the reason you're fighting these battles. Maybe I should step back." Claire turned to him, her eyes fierce. "Don't you dare." "Jack, you're not the problem. You're the best thing that's happened to me in years. To us." Jack looked at her, the weight of her words sinking in. "I'm scared. Claire, I haven't felt like this since Sarah. If this doesn't work, it's not just me who gets hurt. It's Noah. Your kids." Claire stepped closer, her voice steady. "I'm scared too. I've built walls for years, Jack, but you make me want to tear them down. We're worth the risk, aren't we?" Jack's breath caught. He saw the vulnerability in her eyes, the strength behind it, and his doubts began to crumble. "Yeah," he said finally. "We are." She smiled, and before he could overthink it, Jack leaned in, kissing her softly. It was gentle, tentative, but it felt like a promise, sealed. Claire kissed him back, her hands resting on his chest, and for a moment, the world fell away. A giggle from the doorway broke the spell. They pulled apart to find Noah, Ava, and Liam peeking in, grinning. "Ooh!" "Gross," Liam said, but his eyes sparkled. "Are you guys in love?" Noah asked, blunt as only an 8-year-old could be. Jack's face burned, but Claire laughed, pulling the kids into a hug. "Maybe we're figuring that out." "Okay. Now, who's picking the movie?" The kids dragged them to the couch, and as The Incredibles played, Jack sat beside Claire, Noah on his lap. Ava and Liam curled against their mom. It felt like a family, and Jack let himself believe it could be real. The next week was a turning point. Jack's work with Harper Technologies continued to shine, silencing most critics. The kids' science club grew, with experiments that ranged from baking soda volcanoes to a homemade galaxy in a jar. Noah spent more time at Claire's, and Jack found himself staying longer, sharing late-night talks with Claire over coffee or wine. But Daniel wasn't done. He leaked a new story, this time to a national outlet, alleging Claire's personal ties to Jack were compromising her leadership. The article included a photo from the science fair, Jack and Claire holding hands, and twisted it into a scandal. Social media exploded, with hashtags like Harper Plummer trending. Claire's PR team went into overdrive, but the damage was done. Her board was spooked, and investors were asking questions. Claire called an emergency press conference at Harper Technologies, determined to take control. Jack offered to stay away, but she insisted he come. "This is our fight," she told him. "I'm not hiding you." The conference was held in the company's atrium, a sleek space filled with reporters and cameras. Claire stood at a podium, poised and powerful, with Jack in the audience, his heart pounding. Noah, Ava, and Liam were with Diane in a nearby office, watching on a live feed. "Thank you for coming," Claire began, her voice clear. "Recent reports have questioned my integrity as CEO, alleging favoritism in our vendor contracts. Let me be clear. Every contract, including Mitchell Plumbing Services, was awarded based on merit. Jack Mitchell's work has saved this company millions, with performance metrics available to anyone who asks." She paused, her gaze steady. "But this isn't just about contracts. It's personal. Jack Mitchell saved my children from a fire. He's a man of courage and heart. And yes, he's become someone I care about deeply. That doesn't weaken my leadership, it strengthens it. Because love, like integrity, is about doing what's right, no matter the cost." The room buzzed, cameras flashing. Claire continued, addressing Daniel indirectly. "Those who spread lies to undermine me will find I'm not easily shaken. My focus remains on Harper Technologies' mission: innovation, sustainability, and a better future for our children." "Thank you." She stepped down to applause, her eyes finding Jack's. He felt a surge of pride, mixed with awe. She'd laid her heart bare for the world, and she'd done it for them. That evening, Claire and Jack gathered the kids at her mansion, needing a quiet moment after the storm. They sat in the backyard, roasting marshmallows over a small fire pit, the kids' laughter mingling with the crackle of flames. Noah, Ava, and Liam were planning a moon base for their next science club, oblivious to the adult drama. Jack took Claire's hand, pulling her aside. "You were incredible today," he said. "I've never seen anything like that." Claire smiled, but her eyes were tired. "I meant every word. Jack, I'm done hiding how I feel." Jack nodded, his throat tight. "I've been scared, Claire. Scared of not being enough, of messing this up. But I love you. I love this us. The kids. All of it." Claire's eyes shimmered with tears. "I love you too, Jack. And I have something to tell you. The bombshell. I guess." Jack raised an eyebrow, half laughing. "What? You're secretly an alien?" She swatted his arm, then grew serious. "I want you and Noah to move in with us. Not just as guests, but as family. I know it's fast, and your life's here, but I want us to build something together. A home." Jack's breath caught. It was a leap bigger than any he'd taken since Sarah's death. He thought of Noah, of the family they could be, of the love he felt for Claire and her kids. His fears were still there, but they were drowned out by hope. "I'll need to talk to Noah," he said finally. "But, yeah, Claire, I want that too." She kissed him, fierce and joyful. As the kids ran over, sensing something big. "What's happening?" Liam demanded. Claire knelt, pulling them close. "How would you feel if Jack and Noah lived with us? Like a big family." The kids erupted in cheers, Noah hugging Jack's legs. "Can we?" "Dad, please." Jack laughed, lifting Noah into his arms. "We're gonna talk about it, buddy, but it's looking pretty good." The next month was a whirlwind of change. Jack and Noah moved into Claire's mansion, a transition smoothed by the kids' excitement and Claire's warmth. Jack kept his plumbing business, balancing it with Harper contracts, while Claire navigated the fallout from her press conference. The scandal faded as her leadership shone, and Daniel, humiliated by the board's rejection, retreated, his influence waning. One evening, as winter settled over Portland, Jack, Claire, and the kids drove along the coast in Claire's SUV, the ocean glittering under a pink sunset. Noah, Ava, and Liam were in the back, singing off-key to a pop song, their laughter filling the car. Claire reached for Jack's hand, her engagement ring a simple band they'd chosen together catching the light. "Look at us," she said, smiling. "A family." Jack squeezed her hand, his heart full. "Yeah, the best kind." As the road curved along the shore, Jack knew they'd face more challenges, worlds colliding, pasts lingering. But with Claire beside him, Noah's laughter in his ears, and Ava and Liam's chatter, he felt ready. This was their beginning, built on courage, love, and a night that changed everything. Jack and Claire found their way. The kids got their family, and love won the day. What was your favorite moment? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit like this story to remind the world that kindness and courage can change everything. Until next time, keep spreading love.